Vervain, and welcome to the Citrine Palace at Yuletide. Isn't it pretty here? I just love our little tree, and I'm excited to get to be filming here, and I have to make a few wardrobe adjustments. There we go. So I thought I didn't really film anything this week because I was wrapping presents and walking around the neighborhood trying to find presents instead. But I feel like the beginning of winter is just as good an occasion as the beginning of the week or the middle of the week or whenever I've been doing these things to do a little reading. So I've brought my trusty Rider Waite Smith deck, who I'll show you. She's wrapped in a little handkerchief or like a silk scarf of some kind. I don't know if this handkerchief is of a Japanese or a Chinese design or what, but I like to imagine that this is Guan Yin painted on here, and that Guan Yin is guarding my tarot deck. I'm kind of watching over it, if you will. So this is my US Games Rider Waite Smith, blah 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 blah. I've had this is like 11 years basically I've had this deck. I love it. And I feel like since this is for winter and not just for this week, oh, we got a jumper, I'm gonna do a 3-card reading instead of just the one that I usually do. And I'm just gonna set the intention before and as I shuffle these that these cards are for whoever comes to watch this video, for me, for you. If I pull cards that don't resonate with you, you are not obliged to find ways to resonate with them or to like feel like, oh, I must be living my life wrong because I don't resonate with these cards. Just take what applies to you and leave the rest. It's not hard. And if this does resonate with you, then I'm happy to hear that. Our jumper, for the record, because he's fallen upright, is the 9 of Cups, or the Wish card. Or, like, I like to see it as, like, the 9... Oh, we have 3 jumpers. They jumped as a set of 3. Okay. Huh. Alright, well, I haven't really looked at the other ones. Like, I saw that there were other ones. I kind of know what the second one is, but not really. So this is the 9 of Cups, the Wish card, whatever you want to call it. I usually think of that as like finding fulfillment, like all these cups are like the fulfillment from outside, right? But he's got them, but that's not what he's focused on. He's got his fulfillment from inside somehow, and that's how I like to see that card. And then our other 2 jumpers are the Knight of Swords reversed, and the 6 of Swords reversed. So at least for me, which is really the only way that I know how to read tarot for sure, is for me. I feel like the Knight of Swords refers to the way that I've been setting very like high and very ambitious goals for my own like study and learning, and or like at least in the past, like I have a history of being like, oh, I'm gonna read all of these things, I'm gonna learn all of these things, I'm gonna memorize this whole thing and that, and then I'll know everything and it'll be great. And I feel like this being reversed is possibly referring to my more recently I got Diana Paxson's Taking Up the Runes, which for some reason was not my first rune book. It's like my 8th rune book or something, which is ridiculous. I should have bought it first, probably. And in the past, when I've picked up things like that, rune books or whatever, I've been like, oh, read it through, take all the notes, learn all the things, and as soon as you read it, you'll know all the things, right? No. So this time I've been much more slow and forgiving with myself, and I bought a set of 24 Elderfleet rune beads to put in my hair. And the book is divided into lessons with 2 runes at a time. And so I put the first 2 Vervain Urus in my hair, and I read about them. I read that section of the book like 3 or 4 times, and then I went on this shamanic journey that ended up being pretty crazy. And I felt like I invited the runes into my body. I promised my gods that I would invite the runes into my body, whatever that means. And then I put them in my hair, and I studied them slowly, patiently. And within like a week or 2, I was given very potent mystical experiences that I felt like taught me much more in depth about what those 2 runes, Vervain Urus, meant. And based on that, I decided very much to stick with my resolution to move through the runes very slowly this time. And so I've moved on to the next section. I invited Thurisaz and Ansus into my body. I put those beads in my hair. And I read the section about Thurisaz and Ansus, I think, once, and maybe read the Thurisaz section twice. I'm also going through and reading the sections on those runes that I have in other books. And I've been reading the Eddas and things as well, but anyhow, I'm going at a much slower pace and really giving myself time to process each individual piece of information. And I might be going really, really slowly right now because I'm not super excited about fully inviting the energy of Thurisaz into my life, but I also feel like it's gonna happen sooner or later, so I might as well be a willing participant. And I feel like this is referring to that slowness of learning, just because I feel like the knight typically refers to very fast forward motion, and the swords are the suit of intellect and information and knowledge, and then it being reversed would indicate that force being much slowed down. That's how I see that. And then our third jumper is the 6 of Swords reversed, which is it's the man rowing away the woman and the child, and the boat full of swords, which I'm not really sure how the boat's not sinking because it's got swords in it, and that's reversed. And what I've always heard about this card is that it's a card of transition from something that's choppy and rough to something that's a little smoother, and it's a sad transition and a sorrowful transition, but a necessary transition, and it's painful, but it's necessary, and in the end healing and beneficial. And I wonder, there's a lot of things actually that come to mind now that I'm thinking about this. One, the end of the year, or even just Yule, and going from autumn to winter, or from going, as we're about to, from 2017 to 2018. Dear Lord, I almost was 2016 to 2017. That's where I am in my head. I feel like these are all transitions, and these years, the last few years, have not been good or easy for America, the world in general. It's just been rough. So as much as I'd like to believe, I don't know, this is reversed. The 6 of Swords here is reversed. And so if it were upright, I would like to be saying, so it looks like maybe things will be smoothing out a little bit. But it's reversed, which for this card, because this is a card of motion from one thing to another thing, in its reversed aspect, my first thought is to interpret it as from the other thing to the one thing, and that would be basically things getting choppier and more difficult. And when it's upside down, obviously it's not gravity keeping you in that boat. I don't know. Just things to think about. So maybe let's, those are some very interesting jumpers. I'm gonna set those down and I'm gonna finish shuffling the cards that I have here. I'm gonna shuffle just a few more times. And then we're gonna pull 3 more cards below those cards, and maybe these other cards will give us some more detail. Or I feel like when I do these readings for all of us, like they speak so deeply to me that I sometimes wonder like if they could possibly be speaking to anybody else at all, because it feels so specifically related to me. But then a lot of times I also find when I'm doing readings for clients that I feel like the reading is for me. And I'm like in my head like trying to shut up all the ways that I'm reading it for myself and like speak, hey, you know, like this is what I'd see in my own life. I'm not sure how this applies to you. And like over and over and over, the people that I'm reading for are like, oh yeah, that's exactly how I'm feeling right now. That's exactly what I'm going through right now. That's exactly, this totally applies to me. And I've heard this from other tarot readers as well, that we often find ourselves drawn to the people with similar struggles and similar situations. And that like the people who come to us for readings are often going through the same sorts of scenarios that we are. And if you've ever had an experience like that, I'd be really interested to hear about it in the comments below. I'm just curious to know how many other people have had experiences. We got another jumper. I think it's a good one though. Yes. Oh, the Ace of Cups. Because this fell out right while I was talking about us relating to each other and like the things that we have in common despite believing that we don't have things in common. I'm really feeling like this is speaking to finding that overflow in each other and finding like the joy of the overflow in the way that we connect and relate to each other. The overflow has been a big theme for me this past year, and I don't see it going away because I feel like the overflow that comes from within ourselves, that's all we fucking got this year, man. I don't know how else to say that. I don't know how else to say that. I feel like it is enough to power us through. And these jumpers so far, still haven't even had the opportunity to actually pull a card. But these jumpers so far, I really feel like are dark but hopeful. It's like, here's the situation that's going to be coming about. It's not going to be easy or fun necessarily in itself as a situation, but y'all have, you know, take it easy. Don't be too hard on yourselves. Don't push yourselves like too fucking much, but you have the power within yourself to create whatever micro reality you want to create. I don't know how much we have the power to change the macro reality as individuals day to day, but by changing your micro reality, when enough people change their micro realities, you do change the macro reality. It's like people always say, one individual can't change the world all by him or herself, but the only thing that can change the world are individuals. Here we go. Cut. 1, 2, 3. What do I get? The King of Cups reversed. Okay. Here's what I'm processing. the King of Cups, when I think of like myself and my own relationship with the King of Cups, it's the way that I will tend to hold in whatever I am feeling or processing or whatever as like a noble act, like for the greater good. Like I have to hold this in so that we can get these other things done. And I feel like some of these other jumper cards also, and what we were talking about, everything, I feel like, and my recent experiences with Yule, that maybe like holding it all in for the sake of other people is not the wisest choice. Maybe the way that we can be building our strength is not by having the sort of mastery over our feelings that allows us to ignore them, but by having the sort of mastery over our feelings that allows us to share and empty out the, we talk about, see the cup reversed, I think about people talking about keeping emotions, keeping things bottled up. Like, oh, don't keep that all bottled up. Oh, if it's upside down, it falls out of the bottle or whatever, or the cup. And so I see that as like a pouring out. Because the way that we build a web between each other, the way that we build stronger connections between each other, is by pouring out the overflow that we have as individuals kind of into each other and into the world around us, and then picking up the strands of overflow that other people have dropped or poured out that match with our own. The second card that I picked here is, so okay, I want to go back also to the King of Cups. And I don't want to like share too much, but I do want to say we had our Yule celebration here yesterday. At least one of us was going through some like very difficult emotional Christmas disappointment. Like that's not even, like I'm not even really at liberty to choose the right words here, but difficult emotional things. And was like, and I don't know, I'm not at liberty to speak to like what this person's internal experience was, but I do know that as a friend, seeing my friends keep things bottled up and like seeing my friends unable to speak about their feelings and feel unable to share what they're going through is much more painful than like having to hear and empathize what that person is going through. Like I would much rather be invited to sit in that space of pain with a friend than sit outside wondering what they're going through, if that makes any sense. And I feel like, well, and what eventually allowed our Yule to come together was a little more pouring out of the cups, I feel like. I don't know. But that seems relevant, so I'm mentioning it. The second card that I actually drew is the moon reversed. Which is funny, because, well, the moon's a very watery card, and I've written about the moon a lot, and not just me, like lots of people have written about the moon as a cup or a vessel, because it, like, you know, it gets half full, and then it empties, and then it fills and empties, fills and empties. And so seeing the moon reversed is like another vessel upturned. And even in the swords card, we've got a vessel upturned because it's the boat. What was with all these upturned vessels? The Ace of Cups, it's worth noting, was upright. That was not reversed. And the Nine of Cups was upright, not reversed. But the Six of Swords with the boat was reversed. The King of Cups was reversed. And this moon now is reversed. I often see the moon and the sun as having a sort of dichotomy with the way that we see things in the world. And so when we see things in the sun, everything is clear, and it's pretty clear and obvious what's what. Like, okay, that's a tree, That's a fake tombstone. I'm looking out my backyard door. That's a fence, right? But in the moonlight, in the shadow, I can look out and be like, okay, that's a monster. Maybe, what's in that tree? That might be a gravestone, might be a rock, might be a large turtle, oddly shaped. Yeah, I'm like picturing like a large turtle that's shaped like a gravestone. I'm just like walking through my backyard. But you understand what I'm saying, in that it can be unclear what you're actually looking at in the moonlight. Things appear mysterious or terrifying that aren't actually. My first thought is that we're not seeing clearly. This was also in the middle, and so I guess I would see that as the present position. I don't know if you can tell, I'm just kind of reading these like a conversation. I didn't really do much of a spread. And I think that is my favorite way to read, is much more like a conversation. But, so I see this moon reversed as saying that we're not seeing clearly, and we need to amend that. There's one of two ways this could go. Because in a sense, there can be more romance and magic in not knowing and not seeing things clearly. In the mystery, there is magic. There is romance in the mystery. At the same time, I feel like it's our responsibility, it's our job as witches or whatever, to create or interact with magic and romance and joy and whatever, whatever the environment is, whatever the level of mystery or information is. Like, however much information we have about the reality of a situation, we should still be able to find ways in which it is magical, or to create aspects of it, of the situation, that are magical. And so I have the temptation to read this as we should, you should maintain the romance and the mystery, by, maintaining that illusion. I feel, and often when I read a reversed card, I see it as the deck saying that this is something that needs to be flipped. And I see this as both. We're not seeing things clearly. Oh, this is something I've been thinking about a lot, actually. Now this comes up. I've been thinking about this a lot. The way that we relate to each other as humans, as individuals in society today is so dishonest. It's so dishonest. And I think that that's where a lot of my anxiety comes from. And I think that a lot of other people who have social anxiety, I think that it has to come from a similar place. And let me get at this. What I'm saying is that we are surrounded by a culture that lies consistently, chronically, all the time, like habitually, traditionally. That's just how we interact culturally, is we lie to each other. We tell each other that we're doing fine. We tell each other that they look great. we tell each other that we're happy with our lives. We tell each other that we're feeling well. We tell each other and ourselves that we don't do certain things, or that we don't want certain things that we want, that we don't do certain things that we do, that we don't want certain things that we want. We tell people, to make other people more comfortable, we tell people that we don't want or need certain things that we want or need, so as not to put them to trouble. So we're lying all the time. And then like, I have a little anxiety about occasionally feeling like my friends are lying to me when they tell me that they love me and they want to spend time with me, right? Because, like, why would anyone want to do that? And, like, I know that's, like, probably the one of the few situations where I'm not being lied to. But it makes sense that I would have anxiety about my friends lying to me when they say nice things to me or about me. Because I know that I'm constantly surrounded by people who are lying all the time. So, okay. This is really something that's been coming up a lot for me lately. And I wonder if that's not what the moon reversed here is talking about. The fact that we're not seeing things clearly. Also, the goddess has been dishonored. That's a way that she's been dishonored. And there's so many ways that the goddess has been dishonored by, like, the contemporary world. And, like, some of those ways I'm not even comfortable talking about on camera, so I'm not going to right now. But notice, if you're so called, invite yourself to notice the ways in the world around you that the goddess has been dishonored. And however you believe in the goddess, whether it's just like you see that the earth is being dishonored, or you see that, like, your inner feminine spirit is being dishonored, or that, like, your own authority over yourself is being dishonored. Those are ways that I would say that the goddess is being dishonored. And I've definitely felt called to work on correcting that and calling that out. And so I guess I would like to invite you to be there with me. And I think that the ways in which we lie to each other is also dishonoring the goddess. It's dishonoring the goddess in ourselves. It's dishonoring the goddess in each other. It's dishonoring the communication that we've been given to communicate words of truth to each other, words of power. If we're using the same language to communicate lies as we are to communicate words of power, those words of power are deeply diminished. And only in true honesty, only in true authentic relating, and by honoring the divinity in ourselves and in each other, can we really come together and meet each other as equals. I'm going to leave it there. I love you. I love you all. I really do. Thank you. Well, I feel like I just experienced something, like, I don't know. I do these for myself all the time. I should film these more often. I will try and make a point to do that. Thank you for being here and experiencing that with me. If you felt that any of this applied to you, I'm thrilled. Please let me know. I'd love to hear. If you have any, like, alternative or additional interpretations or perspectives on the cards that I drew and how those might apply to the coming season and the coming year, I would love to hear what you have to say in the comments below or on my Instagram. Those are the best ways to reach me. And I'll have all those links down in the description place. But man, thank you. Thank you so much for being here with me for that. Thank you for being present with me and working through that with me. I really would love to hear what you all think. If you did enjoy this, please like the video to let me know. Please subscribe to the channel to let me know that you'd like to see more of these things, and you will be subscribed and receive notifications or something. You know, like, you can personalize all those settings whether you get notifications or not. But if you subscribe, I'll know that you like the stuff that I put out and that you want me to put more of it out there, and then I'll put more of it out there instead of sitting around my house not. Let's just take a moment of silence and be present and just take some deep breaths for a few seconds. Thank you again. Happy Yule. Happy winter. And I'll see you again soon.